Okay, welcome back, guys, to the Real Country Podcast. This is Nikki, and we're here back after a little hiatus, which I'm super excited to be back. I missed you guys, but our guest today is Mr. FRAY.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm upright, as I usually tell people.
Good.
So that's a good place to be.
Yeah, you wake up and you're upright. You've won the day, right?
I'm on the right side of the ground is what they say.
Beautiful. Yeah, started off with positivity. We love that.
Yes.
Well, talk to me about what you're up to, and then we'll kind of get into some topics. I have so many questions for you. There's so many things I want to unpack, but let's just start off with, like, what are you doing these days?
I'm in the midst of touring season, so that's
nice.
The summer festival season is always a busy time.
Yeah.
It's so funny, too, because my wife and I have really learned how to find this balance where it's just like, okay, well, I'll see you in 3 months. It's kind of like that. No, it's just like I pop in when I can for like 24 hours at a time, you know. Be dad, be husband, you know, and then I have to go out and be FRAY, which is, but yeah, but then, you know, it starts to slow down kind of November, December, January, February, and I'm like, okay, I'm home for 4 months. So
yeah, we're doing holiday things.
Yeah, it is a good balance, but yeah, we figured it out. I've been doing this now for about 9 years. Okay. You know, professionally.
Wow.
So yeah, so it other than that, you know, I've just been busy on the road, and I write when I can, you know, here and there, and if I don't get a write here in Nashville, then I, you know, write by myself, you know, just whatever hotel room I happen to be shacked up in. And yeah, but it's cool. You know, just doing life on the road and doing wonderful things like this where we get to talk to people about the music.
Well, heck yeah. I love talking to people about the music. Life on the road. I know I was just telling him I just came back from the road for 2 months, and I feel like now, like, I get you guys maybe a little bit, like, moving from town to town, you know, but it's got to be, like, overwhelming, but also amazing to do in a way, you know. And I love that you said about balance, because I'm always asking artists, like, if you have a family and you have kids, like, how do you strike that balance, you know? Like, how did you come up with that? Are your kids in school? Like,
they are. Yeah. Yeah. I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 22. Wow. She lives in New Mexico.
Nice.
And she's currently pregnant too, so I'll be a grandpa come October.
Oh my God, congrats.
Yay. So that's a big life event that's happening. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I have a 9-year-old Mackenzie who's just started the 4th grade. She's super bright, super awesome, just excelling and thriving. And then we have a little firecracker, Olivia, who's 3. And
the youngest little firecracker.
She's the youngest, but she's definitely the most bold out of all of them. So she's going to be a problem, but no, she's awesome.
She's going to be a problem. Yeah. Are they, do parents actually like when kids go back to school, or are you kind of just like, woo, you know, or I'm sure you miss them a ton whenever you're on the road.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm sure my wife loves it too, because she works remotely from home. That's so great. It's just like, you know, when both the kids were there during the summer break, they're just like, mom, jumping in. She's like, I've got to jump on a Zoom or something, you know? So it's just really funny. Yeah. And so, you know, when the kids are back in school, you know, it does kind of alleviate something. But and then it also helps that my in-laws just recently moved from New Mexico, and they moved in with us. Okay. So it kind of works out, you know, so it gives her some time to focus on work and things like that. But yeah, I mean, we generally love it whenever they go back to school. That's great. Because, you know, they get to work on their social skills and learn and thrive and do all the things. So.
They're doing their thing. You're doing your thing. Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you know, after 9 years, you really have got it down. Sounds like a great life.
Yeah, we do. We do. We figured it out. It out. Yeah. It was definitely a huge transition from law enforcement, but.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yes. We'll definitely get into that. But I know that you also, too, just recently released an EP.
I did.
You can kind of talk through that a little bit, because I just listened to it on the way here. Love it. We'll have to talk about the duet with Tracy Lawrence, all the things. So kind of talk me through, like, the inspiration behind that project.
Yeah, it's called Good for the Soul. Yeah. And it's exactly that. It's good for the soul. It's music that it is a title track. It's the Tracy Lawrence collaboration that I have on there, but it's also like when people were asking me from the team, like, hey, what do you want to name this? You know, me and my manager threw out a bunch of different ideas, like going back to the basics, because it was in a way like going back to our roots and stuff of, you know, the Southwest and donning the cowboy hat and stuff. And but it was just like, no, I think Good for the Soul is really what I'm kind of going for. I want my music to have a positive impact on people's lives, and I think all these songs do that. You know, there's a song for every season of life you're going through. So I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's
I would have to agree. It's very good for the soul. And the whole through line of that last song is that, like, country music is good for the soul, right? A whole lot of other things too. So what else do you use? Like maybe hobbies or like things that you love, but what else is good for the soul for you?
Oh gosh, it's so funny. I just posted a clip about this where me and Tracy were talking about that. If we could jot down 3 things. He's like, country music. I said, God is good for the soul. Yeah. You know, having the spiritual connection with a higher being is good for the soul. Cold beer. Good for the soul.
Oh gosh,
love that.
I just got chills. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's great for the soul.
The tea that they have here is awesome at the River Nomad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all things. And my family, of course, friendship, just good conversation, all the good things that you can, that we usually take for granted. We start putting a lot of focus on just the calamities and the chaos of life.
Sure.
But I think if you can just really, that's what music does, is everyone can kind of unite around this one thing in a time where we feel like we just can't agree on anything. This is one thing that we can agree on, is music and just the simple things in life. So, yeah.
So well said. I know we were talking to you right before we started this, like music and kind of like the analog culture where everyone's kind of taking a step back and it doesn't feel as quick and you're really present. And I think that's good for the soul, like classic, like tapes and like, recordings, even classic phones. Like that's such a cool time.
Yeah. You see a lot of people are just thinking like, man, at some point I'm just going to get a flip phone again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just
a landline. What the heck is that?
Oh my gosh. I miss it. I really do miss it. Where you're just like, if you need to get a hold of me, if it rings and I answer, then I'm home. And if I'm not, then you'll know real quickly.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think it's awesome. There is this peace and the serenity that comes with the more simple things.
I agree. Well, why Tracy for that collab? Is he like one of your heroes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
without a doubt. I grew up in the 90s, and so I'm a big 90s country baby. I just love that sound. I mean, that's just what I know to be great country music. You can go further back, of course, and everyone has their era of country music that they just like, this is when it was real country,
Yeah.
But for me, it was the 90s, and Tracy Lawrence is someone I really gravitated to because he just really had these strong ballads. Now, he has some great honky tonk songs. Like, he's a honky tonk. That's his bread and butter. But when you go to songs like I See It Now, or How a Cowgirl Says Goodbye,
oh my gosh,
Alibis, Paint Me a Birmingham, you're just like, man, these great songs. And he was just a master at being able to tell those stories, and I just love that. And he has one of the most unique voices in country music.
Hands down.
And so, people always talk about their Mount Rushmore of country artists, and I don't know that he's ever in the conversation for it, but he should be. At least he is for me.
For you.
Yeah, and so when the song was pitched to me, it had that classic 90s kind of honky-tonk vibe, and I had asked whether or not we were going to do a collaboration with somebody on any of the songs on the project.
Yeah.
And then that one was one where my publicist out, my publishers, music publishers out in Sony, said, well, what about like a 90s icon? Is there somebody you have in mind? And I said, if we can get Tracy Lawrence, let's do it. And so that's really how the conversation started. And it really helped that I had a little bit of a friendship with him, which has since blossomed since then. But yeah, I mean, I shot him a text too, and just like, hey man, you might get a call from your team, and just would love for you to jump on this. And he's like, yeah, man, send me the lyrics. Send me the lyrics, send me the date, and I'll come to the studio and knock it out. And he's such a pro. He killed it, and it turned out really great.
I love that. Yeah, if you think about like classic quintessential like 90s voices, like he's definitely up there. Yeah. And you mentioned the Mount Rushmore. Who else would be on that for you? Like, who are some of your other inspirations?
I think I'd have to. Gosh, it's so.
I know there's so many.
It should happen. Yeah, George Strait obviously is up there. I would also put Freddie Fender up there. I think he was a huge influence of mine, and big on the 70s and 80s, and really helped pave the way for artists like myself from a Hispanic background.
Sure.
So Freddie Fender for sure. Gosh, and you have so many. Hank Williams, I guess, would have to be at the top of the list because he influenced so many other ones like Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and everybody. And of course, you don't want to put all those, but I think if you put Hank Williams, then you kind of cover the rest, right? Yeah. So,
He stands for everybody else that he inspired to. So,
exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you talked about background a little bit. Let's kind of get there for you because you have such an interesting story. Talk about where you're from and I guess your evolution into music, which is, I know it's a long story, but I want to hear about your time in law enforcement and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so music was always my goal. This is what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid, since I could talk. My parents were just like, they realized early on that I could sing.
He's a performer.
And that, I'm a performer, and just always really outgoing, and they'd always throw me up at church and say, hey, sing some special music or something like that. So I was always singing, and then I started to kind of dabble in songwriting, which they were terrible songs probably. I don't have any record of them at this point.
You got to start somewhere.
But you got, Matt Ramsey with Old Dominion always says you got to write all the bad ones before you get to the good ones.
Exactly.
So you got to do that. But anyway, so I was always doing that. But of course, life happens, and at some point, I was just like, okay, well, the clock's ticking, and you start wondering whether or not you have a shelf life, as an artist or a performer. maybe I'm too old for this, but I still found myself playing music, and I started up a little band called Border Avenue in the region of Las Cruces where I lived. And so I always kind of fell back to music. And then one day I told the story to a friend the other day. I was like, man, I was driving on patrol. I was working a graveyard shift. It was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and Chris Stapleton came on the radio on overnights. Now they're playing them all the time, right?
Yeah.
But at that time, it's just like, man, you had to be up at 4 a.m. to listen to Chris Stapleton. And I did my research, and I was like, man, he's been doing it for such a long time. And, he's not this spry 20-year-old or whatever. And I was like, man, that's really cool. So maybe there's some time. I got some time left. So that was a huge moment of inspiration for me. And then, so we started gigging more, doing all that stuff. Mind you, I was still doing law enforcement. And then we entered a battle of the bands in Las Cruces, and the prize for that was opening up for Keith Urban as he was driving through.
Awesome.
So we got to do that, and that was my first real experience with a tour of that magnitude, with like a green room. Like, what's a green room? Usually I walk into the dive bar, and there's just like, here's a bar tab, and just you guys go on at 10,
Yeah.
So
food back here?
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But then walking out onto the runway in front of 8,000 people or whatever it was on a Tuesday night, I was like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I just knew it. I felt it in my bones. And that was the moment. That was just like where the light bulb went off. And I was like, this is what I got to do. So I tried to convince my band, like, let's all move to Nashville. And they're like, you're insane. This is not... We were all trying to get married, and we're buying houses here. Like, we're planning roots here in New Mexico. And I was like, okay, well, I want to try. And they're like, okay, well, best of luck to you. And that was pretty much it. So after a while, I linked up with my manager, Oscar, who's he's an entrepreneur. He's absolutely incredible. Just a bulldog in business. And he's just like, he loves music. He loves to drink cold beer. And he was just like, I think I can do something with that, He was working real estate, and he was just like, I think I'm going to try music for a little bit. And he got word of me, and he was like, man, let's do something. So he funded the whole EP and all the stuff. And after a while, I started kind of touring around Texas and doing some stuff there on Texas Regional Radio. And when that started to kind of catch a little steam, I was like, man, I cannot do both, right? I cannot have one foot in, one foot out. So I talked to my wife, and I was like, I want to do this. And she's like, go for it. You never want to wonder what if. Yeah, it takes a very strong individual and, to be your partner in this industry. But within like 2 weeks of working with Oscar, I decided I was going to quit my job. And so I
go full force into this.
Yeah, and I did. And 3 years later, God blessed me with a record deal and a publishing deal and all this stuff, which things that people really work a long time to get. And it happened fairly quickly for me. And so, I came to Nashville. Of course, the pandemic happened and all that stuff, but we were all navigating through, this new territory and how we were going to still create music and all that stuff. And that's when social media had this big boost. And, so I just kind of rolled with the punches and all that. But we moved to Nashville because we knew we needed to be here. And, it kind of worked out.
What a serendipitous story. Yeah, it's so awesome how things come full circle. And called Nashville like 10-year town. And so you feel very blessed when like 3 years and there must be something here. People resonate. Yeah, such a cool sound. Well, being law enforcement by day and then like what honky tonkin' by night and kind of like
that's exactly it.
One another.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There was so many people that I had arrested actually that I'd see at the same bars I was playing. I was like, this could go very bad.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Like a small town kind of,
Yeah, but it was actually at that time that I realized maybe I was onto something good because rather than want to like kick my ass, they're like, you want a shot? And I was like, yeah, totally.
Hey, that's that guy.
Yeah, so it was the same kind of thing. So I was just like, okay, well, maybe my music can, bridge the gap and maybe break some barriers. So it was just cool moments like that where I was like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Well, country music, then Las Cruces, New Mexico. So there's obviously being like Latino culture. Then there's that too in the Southwest. Like, how do you kind of meld all of that together for your unique sound and kind of bring it all together? Oh
gosh, I think it's just something that's second nature to me.
Natural,
it's very natural. If I need to jump into something to do some bilingual stuff, I can, and I have a whole Spanish EP out there where we translated like a bunch of songs from my debut record and put them in Spanish, and we put it out there. And I did a lot of press junkets in Spanish and things like that. But
nice.
It was also one of those things for me where it became. I didn't want it to be a gimmick. Mm-hmm. I didn't want it to be this sort of just like this thing that I can do, so maybe I should do it. It was just like, no, I can do it, and I've proven to the world that I can.
Sure.
But my heart and soul has always been at its core with country music, and English is my first language, so I might as well just do that. And so, but yeah, I got to the point where we started doing the Latin thing, and I didn't want to be known as just the Latin guy.
Sure.
I wanted to be known as a country music artist, and so that's where we kind of reset, talked to the team over at the label, talked to my manager. I was like, guys, I want to do what feels natural to me, and so I started writing songs that reflected that, and then we put this project together, and here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, authenticity always shines through. I was listening to that Spanish album too, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I don't understand anything that's going on, but it's awesome. It's so cool. Yeah. A little bit of the music too, some of the beats, like Latin fusion. Yeah. Are you a dancer?
I am a dancer.
Really?
Yeah, not professionally. Just again, it's second nature to me. Yeah, right? Okay. It's just one of those things. Hey, catch me at the quinceañera, baby. I'm doing the whole thing. It's just something we grew up with. Selena is an artist that I really attribute a lot of that.
Okay.
To, we listened to all that Gloria Estefan and just all these big rhythmic dancers. So Selena did more Tejano music, and Gloria Estefan had more of a Miami sort of Cuban salsa vibe. And so,
I love it.
I love the rhythm and all that stuff. And again, I don't regret anything that we did. It's all very rhythmic and very Latin infused. But at the end of the day, I still wanted to kind of go back and just say, hey, I want to tell stories with this, not 100%, just make people shake their booties.
Country music is so much about storytelling. And
yes.
That's what draws a lot of people to it. And also, like, when you write too, I can tell that you're telling a story, which is great. So I love to hear too, like, your writing process. Are you really reflective? Is it experiential? Or are you telling, like, kind of like projecting stories, or how do you kind of approach writing music?
Yeah, most of the time I go in with a title, and then I try to relate that to like what's going on in my life.
Sure.
Other times I just try to live like vicariously. You know what I mean? Just like I love cheating and drinking songs. You know what I mean? And sad bastard songs, what I call them.
Sad cowboy music.
I'm not necessarily sad at that time. Usually when I write a song like that and I showcase it to my wife, she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. No, yeah, absolutely." Or I wrote this one song I loved just because I love the title. It's called "Missin' My Missus." But it was a title of this guy who realizes that there's maybe some guy who's creeping around in his marriage, which is clearly not the case. My wife was like, no,
that's not true.
Right. But again, it's just this vicarious. I love the thought, and maybe someone out there can relate to it, that's ever been cheated on or whatever. And so I was just like, so it's songs like that. So it really just kind of depends on the vibe and the melody and what I'm feeling that day. And of course, when I co-write here in Nashville, people throwing out just a bunch of ideas.
Oh,
and
sure.
so
yeah.
It's really cool that you might have a title you think might have a premise, and then you bounce it off someone else and they're like, well, what if it's this?
Whole new meaning.
And you're like, oh gosh. So I wrote this one song with Mark Irwin, and I can't remember the other guy's name for the life of me. I have to look at it. But I had this song called After Hours, and the idea was, we're at the bar after hours. And Mark was like, misunderstood me. He was like, is it after hours or after hours?
Like O-U-R-S.
O-U-R-S. And I was like,
whoa.
I didn't even, what? So then we completely shifted on what that song was going to be about. And it's just like, does love still exist after hours, you know?
Oh,
And so it was huge. And I was like, man, this is so good. But it had that traditional, just old country feel. And I was like, man, this is cool. That's the kind of stuff I want to write,
That's so cool.
Yeah, but it's just amazing where like watching a song take place and watching it, crafting it. It's my favorite thing to do is just put words together and try to come up with a story. And my friend Monty Criswell always says it best. He's just like, you're funneling. You just got to think of it as funnel. It's just, you're throwing all this stuff out, and eventually you just want to, crap out a diamond.
Sure. Yeah, you got to whittle it away until like the pressure creates a diamond. And you
exactly.
Have this, like,
you said it much better. I said crap out a diamond, but the pressure.
I don't know the actual term. We can say crap out a diamond, or chisel, carve.
Chisel, carve, pressure is good.
Pressure out. Yeah. Well, there was one I was listening to on the way here as well that I was going to mention that I thought like the hook, the spin was so good. And now as we're talking, the title is escaping me. It's something about whiskey. It's like she's basically not your problem anymore.
Oh, somebody else's whiskey.
Somebody else's whiskey, yeah.
Funny that you mentioned that, because I wrote that with Frank Rogers and Derek George. We were on a writer's retreat, and writers' retreats, the way they work is like you have a bunch of people that you love to write with. Sure. Everyone, you get a place like this, and then like, hey, we're going to write in this room. You guys write in that room, and then we'll swap. We'll have lunch, and then we'll all switch and this and that. But Frank had this idea for a while called Somebody Else's Whiskey, and it was always intended to be a sad song. Mm-hmm. But having spent some time with me, knowing that I'm just more of a bubbly individual, and he's like, dude, what if it's just like funny? Yeah, that's funny. So he went out for stroll on the beach, and then he came back and just rinsed off and had a towel over his neck, and he's just like, I got this idea. And he had like the whole first verse and chorus written, and I was like, well, let's just finish it. You know, it was so funny and just great. And what I love specifically about that song is the music video. We did it, and there was 2 versions of me.
Okay.
Right? Like the bartender and then the recipient, if you will. And so I was drinking with myself, and my kids, when they watch it, they just equate to like, hey, I want to watch 2 dads. You know, that's what they say, 2 dads. Like, I want 2 dads. And my wife's like, are you sure you want 2 dads? Anyway, so we always call that song 2 dads. It's really funny. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, I really love that one. I was like, oh, that's super catchy. Yeah. And then I was talking about, too, before we even started this, that the song that really like got me into your music to kind of go back into the catalog was the one that I saw you play at the listening room, Hero, or Hard to Be a Hero.
Hard to Be a Hero.
I would love to talk about that because it's such like it's powerful subject matter. You know, my dad was in Vietnam era, so like when I listened to it, I kind of like put myself in the shoes of maybe somebody from that era, and it was just like so powerful, like made me really emotional, you know, kind of thinking about how people would feel if they were thinking, like what that song kind of talks through. So
yeah, to me, that song really humanizes the men and women who do the job, whether you're a first responder, whether you're police, fire, EMS, you know, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, whatever it is. If you served in the military, it really just kind of tackles the idea of PTSD, right? And, and it deals with the first verse is like an officer who had to take someone's life. And the repercussions of dealing with that, right? And knowing that immediately you're going to have half of the public who support you and half of the public who don't.
Yeah.
And it's not usually that black and white, you know? So I think it was important for me to tell that story. And furthermore, we wrote that song. I wrote it with Jordan Walker, Tranny Anderson, and Seth Mosley. And again, we were on a writer's retreat. I took them to Las Cruces, and I was like, I just wanted to kind of touch ground where I was from and see if that sparked anything. Well, we had the idea. This was the last song that we were working on. So we had the title, we had a little bit of a melody going, we had a bit of a premise, but then we had to cut it. Because we had to go and do a round. And the round that we were doing was to memorialize a police officer, Jonah Hernandez, who was killed in the line of duty the year prior. Yeah. So Chief of Police Jeremy Story, who's my buddy in Las Cruces, had texted me a couple weeks before that retreat, and he goes, hey, would you want to maybe do a concert for Jonah? We're trying to have a memorial service for him. And I said, I don't know if you want my concert as a memorial service. It is fun and it's energetic. There's a lot of tequila involved. And I was like, it doesn't really feel appropriate. I said, but I am coming down for a writer's retreat. How about we do a writer's round? Now, nobody in that region knows what a round is. It's not something that's as prevalent as up here in Nashville, or maybe some of the Texas rounds that you might find. So they didn't really know what I was talking about. I said, trust me, it's a beautiful experience. We'll just get 4 writers up there and we'll do it. And so we hadn't quite finished the song, but in that room, it was very clear that there was a lot of people who are supporters of law enforcement. Jonah's family was in the room, his wife, his kids. And so when we had a moment of silence for him, you can hear a pin drop. And the magnitude of this song really kind of, it became apparent to all the writers that we need to get this right.
Yeah. And
so we packed up, we came back to Nashville, and then we texted about it, and we're like, let's find a day. And we spent a day on it and just got a place up in Franklin. And we sat and we wrote, and it was magical. And we crafted every lyric, and we put a lot of heart and soul into it. And it's probably my favorite on the album.
Yeah. Very powerful. Hard to be a hero these days. Like
and the hook. The hook is that hard to be a hero these days. It's the line that carries the most weight for me that sets it up. It's like in a world that doesn't want to be saved.
That was, jeez.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. And it's just, to me, my whole goal is to try to humanize these men and women who do it, because it's so easy to paint law enforcement with a broad brush and say they're all bad, they're all corrupt, this and that. And that, you know, there are certainly officers out there who don't need to be officers, and they need to be held to account. And I always tell people, if that's what you're looking for is accountability, most police officers get arrested by another police officer if need be. So that they're the person putting on the cuffs. So so that for me really just kind of sums up law enforcement and what it means to do that job with integrity, and you got to have this vulnerability about it too, and the bravery. But it definitely comes with a lot of trauma and the experiences that these men and women deal with, and they got to take that home. And I think my goal with this song is not just to help reach people and offer some sort of comfort or solace, but also to offer some perspective too, that these men and women also deal with a lot, and their mental health matters just as much as the next person.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. And speaking of that too, you have an organization or something that you're working in or on that kind of addresses mental health in the first responder community. Is it FRAY?
It's FRAY.
FRAY. Okay. Can you talk a little bit
FRAY,
about that?
And it's a kind of a loose acronym for First Responders Mental Clarity. But what we wanted to do with that was raise awareness that mental health is an issue with law enforcement and first responders and military, and you can see it with the amount of people unaliving themselves. If you will, I'm trying to be politically correct here. How do we chip away at that? How do we normalize the conversation around mental health without it being such a taboo subject where it's like, hey, we can talk about it. I've got things that keep me up at night. And I think that's most of my contribution is if I go and I visit these people at these precincts and I say, hey, I know the shoes that you're walking in because I walked in them for 10 years myself. And I know that you're not always okay. And if we are as big of a family as we say we are, then we need to watch out for each other.
100%.
So that's the biggest thing. And the other thing that my organization tries to do is point the men and women who do this job into the right direction. If you're dealing with suicidal ideations, or you're dealing with depression, or you're dealing with substance abuse or domestic violence issues, all those things, where can you go? There are organizations that are already in place that have the infrastructure to be able to do that. So if you're not familiar with them, maybe you're familiar with me, and my platform helps to amplify those organizations. And so it kind of acts as a hub, saying, if you're dealing with this, go check these people out. If you're dealing with this, check this out. If you're in immediate crisis, check out this hotline. Things like that.
A little triage.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what it tries to do. It still is in it's sort of its infancy stages. We're still trying to grow it. It takes a lot of work, and we're still working on the infrastructure right now, because right now it's just me and my manager and that really kind of oversee it. And of course, I've got a lot of stuff going on, so it's difficult to do that. But the other thing we also try to do is accommodate what we call decompression rooms. So basically a quiet room in the precinct, and that's also, there's some loopholes to kind of go through with some red tape. I mean to jump through with that, because police organizations can't openly accept gratuities or things like that from the public.
Any donations?
Any donations like that, because they're a government entity. So you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. But we have been able to outfit Arlington, Virginia Police Department with a decompression room where they go in there. We spend the money to buy them a full body massage chair, which is, it's huge, like $6,000 to be able to do that. And then we, darken the room. We offer up it's very Zen-like, very ambient. They can go, there's a lockbox for them to put up their firearm, hang up their vest, and just zen out for 10, 15 minutes, get your mind right, and then go back out there and take care of business. So it's a small thing, but it goes a long way.
I bet. Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a good idea. I know. I couldn't even imagine what some of these people are dealing with, just like my dad being in wartime, like Vietnam wartime. I know that, this is even before I was born, obviously, that he had some stuff that he was dealing with. I don't know if he knew where the resources were to kind of deal with that or anything, but that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah, we're trying, but I think the more we use my platform to amplify that message, then the more people can see it. And I think when I'm at my shows and we play Hard to Be a Hero, I get everyone to light up their cell phones. And again, it's not for that hero shot of like, oh, look at how many people I'm playing in front of. It's more so to show there are still all these people here that believe in what you're doing. So just keep doing it, because you do have a lot more support than they think.
That's great. Well, good for you. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, so back to then what you're working on. I saw recently you were at the Bluebird. You also did a Grand Ole Opry appearance. Like, those are big milestones,
Huge.
In a career. So then what would be another big goal for you career-wise that you're kind of looking forward to?
I would definitely love to embark on a well-structured headlining tour at some point in the future. I think that's always been a goal, just to be able to go and put butts in seats, what I mean? And just be able to do that and play these songs that I'm so passionate about for people that are like-minded and just love country music and all that stuff. So I definitely want to do that. I've always had my eyes set on hardware for a long time, get an ACM, get a CMA, get a Grammy, all that stuff. The more I think about it now, I don't necessarily know that it's a goal anymore. As I start to kind of self-reflect and think, is it for the vanity that I'm doing it? Is it for this validation that, hey, I did it? So I don't know. I kind of struggle with that still. I definitely would love the idea to say, like, to be respected in the industry, to say, and sometimes this hardware kind of gives you that little bit of a medal of like, hey, you did it, and we see you, and it's all good. So maybe, but I'm also still kind of dealing with that. So I don't know if that's particularly a goal. This is me openly talking about it. Like,
we like that.
What do we want, Frank? What do we want? At the end of the day, if I'm putting food on the table and providing for my family, doing what I love to do, then and providing, giving my band, a job and a place where they can find some stability and security and do what they love as well, then I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, and making that music that's making other people happy.
That's it. That's all we could ask for.
Well, last question for you then. I also saw when you did that reel with Tracy, you asked him if he had any advice for anyone who was like a young up-and-coming artist. And now you're kind of, publishing deal, you're doing the touring, the songwriting, you've been in it for, you said, like 9 years or so. What would yours be? What would your little nugget of advice be? Oh,
gosh. I would say songwriting, obviously, I'm super passionate about, so that's where I would start. I believe in the power of a song. I believe in the art of songwriting, and I think there are a lot of people, especially with the world of AI now, where you can just maybe put in a prompt and it can just spit out some lyrics, and then you think that that's good enough. I think like you said, authenticity shines through always, and people know it. So if you're writing your truth or you're writing somebody else's truth, whatever it is, work on that craft. Work on the songwriting craft, because people, whether you got a pub deal or a record deal or anything like that, people respect a well-crafted song. So just work on your songwriting stuff, especially if you're going to come here to Nashville, because there's a wealth of talented writers and artists here.
Writers,
So work on your chops and get really proficient at that. Yeah,
I like it.
It'll open up a lot of doors for you.
Great advice. I wish I was a better songwriter now that you said that.
It's all good. Sometimes I wish I was a better songwriter too. I still, to this day, I go into it and I think, like, maybe once I start feeling like I got the hang of it, and then I go and I sit next to like Marv Green at the Bluebird or JT Harding and just watch them. I wrote this for Willie Nelson. I wrote this for Morgan Wallen. I wrote this for so and so, and just like all these artists they've written these incredible songs for. You're like, man, I am not good at this.
Oh my gosh, perspective.
Yeah.
It's an art. It's an evolving craft.
It is.
The more you do it, you keep getting better and better.
Yeah, always be in the room where someone's better than you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, if you're the best at the table, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
Or at the wrong table.
That's
however
exactly
you say that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, I guess let people know where they can find you, what you have coming up, where they can find you show-wise, and
do a
little plug.
Yeah, all our shows are listed at my website, frankraymusic.com, and I got a ton of merch and stuff on there as well. So if people want to go and support what we do, that's a good way to do it. They can visit the store, and then of course all social media platforms, so TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on there, Frank Ray Music. You can find me. I'm out there, and you'll find me, and I'm pretty active on it. So if you want to DM, I'm not that huge where like I won't respond to you.
Yeah.
I will respond to you.
People love it when like people still respond to comments and DMs and just like all that stuff. Yeah.
The one I hadn't really been super active on was Facebook, but that's just because I have more of a following there than anywhere else.
Sure.
And it's usually like my aunts or somebody trying to get hold of me. I was like, just text me. So there's an automated response on Facebook. But if you find me on Instagram or something like that, just reach out or email. Yeah, people email me all the time.
Oh, nice.
So
there you go.
Yeah. And it's listed on the website, but it's frankraymusic@gmail.com. So hit me up.
Hit him up.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Frank. Guys, go check out Frank Ray Music. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you.